is Scotland, the Drive, with Alan Douglas and Ali Bally.
Well, thank you for joining us once again and welcome to episode 11. I'm Alan Douglas.
And I'm Ali Bally. Yes, welcome.
And we've got a lot for you in this edition. Lots of things coming up. Apart from the things we've been driving, we've been speaking to the weather woman, although she probably doesn't like to be called a weather woman, not even a weather girl. The weather forecaster, Judith Ralston from Reporting Scotland. She'll be telling us about her first car, or rather her first drive, which was all unofficial.
Is she not a weather presenter rather than a weather forecaster? Because she can't forecast the weather. No, I don't think so.
Oh, right. No, I suppose you're right.
You've got to be part of the meteorological
You've got to be a meteorologist.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, I knew there was a word there somewhere.
She's a weather presenter. Anyway, she's here talking about her first drive, which was all unofficial. And we've been driving a few things. What have you been driving?
I've been driving the Geely Starray and also the Geely EX5.
Right, they're both basically the same car, and I had them as well. I liked the Geely. No, I liked the Starray, which was the petrol version. You didn't like the colour. It was a nice green, kind of olivey green.
No, that was the EX5. I didn't like that colour.
No, it was the Starray that was that colour.
Was it?
Yeah.
So was the EX5.
They said the blend.
It's the same. It was a light greeny type.
Oh, it was no, but that was a light colour. No, the other one was dark green. Anyway, we've been driving the Geely and the Starray, which are both the same car. One's electric, one's petrol. And you liked the electric, but you had
I had problems.
What was the problem?
The problem was that I was with the EX5 was I actually liked it. That wasn't the problem. I liked it so much that I thought by Sunday I was going to be making phone calls to see what deal I could get.
You were going to buy one?
I was going to buy one because I'm now come to the conclusion I should get rid of what I've got at the moment, just because it's time to move it on. So, but I have the problem that all us guys and girls that drive cars for a living have. What do you actually choose when you come to buy something? So I thought I'd found it. And on Sunday, I took a trip to Glasgow. Now, I'm based in Dundee. So from Dundee to Glasgow, thought no problem. Went fully charged it on Saturday night. Full charge was 223 miles. Okay, that's fine. From here to where I was going in Glasgow, 90 miles each way, 180. Shouldn't be a problem. On the way back, between Cumbernauld and Stirling, up points, up, bing, I have 40 miles left to go. Range anxiety crept in. I was expecting to get at least a Perth or two home.
But in fairness, were you not telling me that it started snowing?
Yeah.
I mean, nice Easter weather.
Well, that's it. You don't, if you've been used to driving petrol, you don't really think, when you switch on the wipers, here, this could cause a problem. But the snow, by the time I got to Cumbernauld going down, the snow was really, really heavy. When I got to where I was going, the front of the car was completely covered. The sensors weren't working because the snow had covered everything. So it was fairly heavy. By the time I came out of the meeting I was at and came back up the road, it had all gone. But obviously the wipers being on non-stop going down drained the electricity that I had in the car. And that just knocked it on the head for me. If I can't get from here to Glasgow and back in one charge, that's no use to me.
Well, it's interesting because parked outside, I don't know if you noticed it, I've got a leak motor, which is a car I know nothing about. It comes under the umbrella of Vauxhall. It's Chinese made, but they're working in partnership with them, and it's a leak motor. And I charged it up when I got it, just to make sure it was fully charged up. And you can press a button and it tells you not just the range, but it shows you a map of how far you can go with what's in the battery.
Right.
And actually, from where I was in almost central Scotland, I could get down as far as Leeds on the charge and up beyond Inverness.
Really?
I think, on the charge. And, you know, there's this green area over Scotland, which I thought was quite clever. But as you say, when it starts snowing and you start switching everything on, you find this map gets smaller.
There was no radio on, there was no heaters on that I know of. It was just driving. You know, so and I think that maybe if some somebody's watching this or listening to this who haven't listened to the first few podcasts that we did, we were sort of anti-electric. And I'm coming round, looking to, we've got to do something here. I don't agree with the Mr. Miliband's, we're going to do this to the ozone layer and all that type of stuff. A load of guff, as far as I'm concerned. And, but I will make up my own opinion. And so I would have probably gone to an electric car. They were doing a great deal. I mean, I think you can understand why the electric cars like Geely, they're Chinese and they're making an impression on the market in the whole UK. And if you were going out to buy this EX5 today, you would get a free charger installed at your home. You get 8,000 free miles. Enough electricity to do you 8,000 miles. And again, that's free. And free servicing. So they're piling on, and the basic price is in there to tempt people, because people nowadays, I seem to see, anyway, you drive past forecourts and along the doors the salesmen have got, you can have this car for X amount per month. So it's gone from days that you would look at the top price. You're not, you think to yourself, well, I'm thinking anyway, in 4 years' time, who knows what car I'll be driving? Probably a wheelchair. But there we go. You never know. The way I'm walking at the moment, mate, I'll tell you.
Well, in contrast to all that, I've also had the Vauxhall Frontera.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you remember the old Frontera. It was a big beast of a thing.
I was one of the first in this area to have one. I was sponsored by the local Vauxhall dealer, and I had a Frontera, which I wrote off in a ditch.
You've got a habit of doing that, haven't you?
Oh, I've missed it.
Well, I remember you telling this story before. I thought it was...
Must be the same story.
Must be the same. Well, you usually tell the same story twice, or more. Anyway, the Vauxhall Frontera. This is the latest Vauxhall Frontera. And it's a petrol. And not just that, you get an ignition key. You put the key in and you turn the thing, and it does all the job. And anyway, I'll be talking about it in more detail later on in this episode. But I really liked it, very basic. And I thought, they're on a smart move here. They're going back to basics,
right,
which is what you want. There's too much fancy stuff. And for people like us, we just want something that you can start.
I just think it was funny when you on a call we were having, the most excited I've heard you for ages, and you were excited because, Ali, I've got a car that actually has an ignition key. Just all excited.
Did you last drive a car with an ignition key?
Very true.
Yeah. So there we are. So we've got lots to talk about, so we better get on with it.
This is Scotland, the Drive.
Right, so the big talking point, of course, is fuel prices. Oh, dear. Talk about taking out a mortgage.
Unbelievable.
£2, more than £2 a litre. And by the time this goes out, it's probably doubled. But at the moment, it's about £2, getting on for £2 a litre for diesel. Now, who knows what's going to happen in Iran and whether they're going to get these tankers out and everything. But I'll tell you what, there's a prediction. It'll be a while before we see the prices drop again.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Because they go up very quickly and they come down very slowly.
Well, I was reading a report the other day that saying motorists in the UK should not be pushed into this panic buying because there is plenty of fuel there to feed us. But if that's the case, then surely they should be telling the retailers that, when it's pushing up. But who knows, as you say, which way it's going to go. Mr. Trump has caused a lot of problems, and
he's got a lot to answer for.
Well,
I hope he realises just how angry the Scottish motorists are.
Well, I was listening to him last week there for some unknown reason, and he was talking about Bruce Springsteen, and he doesn't get on with Bruce Springsteen, and I do. And Bruce Springsteen, one of my favourite singers and bands, etc. And Donald Trump said about Bruce Springsteen, bad and very boring singer. He looks like a dried-up prune who suffered greatly from a bad plastic surgeon. And I have to say, are there no bloody mirrors in his house? Because he should look at one and see what he's talking about.
It's pot and kettle, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely, is it? At least he can sing.
Oh,
Trump can't even speak.
Right, so what are we going to do about fuel prices? Well, there's nothing we can do, is there? I mean, we just have to accept it. And you roll up at the pump and you think, how quickly can I get a mortgage? Because that's what it's coming to. But do you think people are being more careful about how much they drive now? Are they thinking twice about it, or do we just do it and take the
Just take
consequences?
consequences, yeah. I think for a while we were there was a few petrol stations who were queues out the road, and that was, I think people were getting a bit of a fright there, just having to make sure their car or vehicle was filled up at all times.
Yeah, but this panic buying thing, I mean, once all the tanks in the cars and all the cars are full, there's no more. You can't take any more, can you? Well, you can fill up jerry cans, I suppose, but once you've reached that point, then there shouldn't be queues anymore because all the cars are full.
Well, people were filling up jerry cans.
Yeah, okay.
But some stations only allowing them to do so many.
But it's all very well saying don't panic buy, but people have to look after themselves. If you think there's going to be a water shortage, you buy in bottles of water because you're taking precautions, you're safeguarding your future. And we don't trust politicians saying that there's no shortage, there's plenty of supply. So we look after ourselves. The fact is, we have no control over this. We've just got to pay whatever is demanded. But that's the way it is.
It does seem to have given a bit of a push to electric cars, though.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that type of figures come out so quickly in this current situation we're in. But that's the word coming from the SMMT, which is the Motor Manufacturers and Traders. They're saying drivers bought a record number of electric cars last month as the war in Iran sent fuel prices soaring, but sales are still well short of the government's unpredictable targets that they keep coming up with.
But I saw something about that, and it all sounds good news for the manufacturers selling more electric cars, but apparently they're selling them not necessarily at a loss, but
they're not far off it.
Well, I know, but they're having to meet this legislation laid down by the government to achieve a certain number of electric car sales. And because of the costs involved, they're actually selling the cars, but they're not if they're making any money at all, it's not very much. And they're saying that alongside they're investing billions in the technology and the product to deliver a choice of more than. How many EV models do you think are on the market in Britain? How many?
100 and maybe.
Oh, you've seen the figure.
No, I was thinking about not going over 100.
160 apparently.
160.
If you want to buy an EV, you've got the choice of 160 models, which is extraordinary. But anyway, they're having to produce these cars to meet these targets, and the target I think is to have 33%, isn't it?
Yeah,
33% of sales electric cars by this year. 33%. So far,
it's not going
22.4. They're not going to do it.
And the fines that the government have said will happen to the manufacturer for each car that doesn't that is not electric that they sell or whatever, the fines are just unbelievable.
Yeah. No,
again, it's making money out of motoring.
The world's gone mad, but we knew that, didn't we? Now, what about the Greens? Talking about mad, what about the Greens? 55 mile an hour speed limit.
55 miles per hour, yes. I'm surprised it's not lower, but I think without getting into politics.
Oh, go.
No, well, they're nuts, aren't they? You know, I mean, come on. They want to ban homework for primary school pupils. They want to ban exams for secondary school pupils.
They want to get rid of prisons.
That's
a good idea.
Yeah. The Tories want to send the prisoners abroad. Are we in the mad season? No, there's just elections coming up. That's all it is.
They're saying they want there should be a 55 mile an hour speed limit. Like the States, there's a 55 mile an hour speed limit in the States.
Well,
most parts of the States.
I first heard this when one of their leaders, Rachel Millward, she's a Green deputy leader, I believe, was being interviewed on a radio program, and she admitted she knew nothing about the plan to limit motorway speeds to 55 miles per hour. Under the policy, the motorway speed limit would be slashed by 15 miles per hour, and 20 miles per hour limits would be enforced on all built-up areas. Well, that's been a success at the moment, hasn't it? It's cost millions to enforce that into the roads.
So we don't agree with it.
No, we don't agree.
Right, okay, that's fine. I've had an expensive time. I've told you about my pickup.
I know, that's the violins that we're playing in a moment.
Yeah, no, but I have an Isuzu pickup, which is my car, apart from all the other cars I drive. It's my car. I love it. It's a great car. It's getting a bit elderly now. It's 8 years old now. But it's great. It does anything you want it to do. It can sit for weeks on end, and you go in and you press the button. You don't put an ignition key in. You press a button and it bursts into life. But it had to go in for its MOT.
Right.
Now, last year, it only just scraped through because there were a few problems with brake pipes and brake discs.
Just minor things.
Minor things. Yeah. So I thought this year, okay. Anyway, it failed on the brake pipes and the brake discs and the brake calipers. So it was in there, and I had to bite the bullet and got it done. And it was £5 short of £1,000 for its MOT. But I thought, well, it's cheaper than buying a new car. I mean, £1,000 on a new car is kind of floor mats.
Yes.
Or a tank of fuel. So I paid the bill, and it's back on the road again. And it's absolutely right that the brakes should be good. So that's all done. And then I remembered talking to somebody I know who lives in British Columbia in Canada, and they don't have an MOT test.
Really?
Huh. You have to make sure your car's roadworthy, but there is no formal test every year. And they just take it on trust that you look after your car and you make sure it's roadworthy. They can, if you're stopped and it's found to be unroadworthy, you can still be fined, but there is no commitment or no obligation for you to have an annual MOT test. And I wondered how that would work here, because the MOT test is quite a nice little money spinner, because obviously the government take VAT on it. Or do they take VAT on the MOT test? I don't think they do.
Don't think they do, no.
I don't think there's VAT at the test. But it's good for the garages. Small garages do the MOT. It's about 56 quid roundabout. It's a good thing. I think it's a good thing.
I think it's a good thing as well, because on the Evoque that I've got, it picked up that the brakes were needing looked at the last time. So, and I wouldn't have picked up probably had it not gone in for the MOT.
It's better for it to be picked up at a test than to be picked up when you
go to press the brakes.
You go to press the brakes and nothing happens. Have you ever been in that situation?
No. Yeah.
I have once. I was in Aberdeen with a motoring colleague of ours, and it was a Volvo event, and Volvo thought it'd be a nice wheeze for us to drive some old Volvos. So we were driving down this road in Aberdeen, and I don't know Aberdeen all that well, but there's a long road in somewhere near the hospital.
All right.
Anyway, we're driving down this road, and the guy who was driving said, "The brakes have gone." I said, "Yeah, I know." Yeah. No, he said, "They really have." And they had. And we're going down this road and heading into the centre of Aberdeen. No brakes.
No brakes.
So he was pumping the handbrake, and eventually we managed to avoid. I could see traffic building up with some traffic lights ahead of us. But fortunately, the lights changed and we kept going. But anyway, we got through it. But it's an unnerving experience to have new brakes. So it's better to get them done and before they actually
back
up. So there we are. I was talking about the Frontera.
I was going to say Frontera.
Yeah. So I got this Frontera, which was very nice, and I took it for a wee drive, and here's what I thought about it.
This is Scotland, the Drive, with Alan Douglas and Ali Bally.
Well, it's a while since I've seen one of these. The ignition key is unusual these days, and I actually like this tealy green paint job with the white roof. It's quite a departure from the old Frontera we used to know. It was here from the early 90s for around 10 years, and it was based on an Isuzu. This is the latest creation from Stellantis-owned Vauxhall, and it's part of their aim to return to their position as one of the 3 best-selling car makers in Britain, even if their presence here is only a shadow of what it once was. This is a bargain basement car, and you can tell costs have been kept down, not least from the white steel wheels and, of course, the ignition key to start it up. The crossover is about the size of an Astra, and it comes with either a 3-cylinder hybrid engine, which is what's under this bonnet, or electric power, which is actually cheaper at less than £23,000. This is a 5-seater, but for another £550 you can get an extra row of seats, although they would really only be for toddlers. It's a value for money family transport without many frills, which is actually quite refreshing. There aren't too many fancy bits, and the best bit of all is that you can switch off the lane departure control and the speed limit warning with just 2 dashboard buttons, without having to go through all the palaver of working your way through a display screen menu. On the road, it's not the quickest off the mark, which isn't surprising from the efficient 1.2-litre 3-cylinder engine with a 6-speed auto box, but getting up to 62 miles an hour in just 9 seconds is all you need anyway. Official fuel economy is around 53 miles per gallon, but I haven't managed to get beyond around mid-40s. Vauxhall say that around town you should be able to run for about half the time on the 28 horsepower electric motor, but again I think that's a bit optimistic. The suspension is perfectly acceptable and takes most of the ruts and bumps in its stride. The engine's a wee bit noisy on the move, but it's not intrusive, and the car is very manageable, thanks to the light steering and compact dimensions. On the inside, it feels a touch basic without much luxury, but having said that, it's got most of the stuff you'd want, including wireless phone charging, sat-nav, electric heated door mirrors, and LED headlamps. It's surprisingly spacious inside, and while it is fairly Spartan, it feels as if it will withstand the rigours of family use. The boot's big, and there are actual heating controls with knobs for temperature and airflow. There are 3 trim levels: Design, GS, which is this one, and Ultimate. And for the price of not much over £20,000, it's very attractive. And you get an ignition key.
Scotland the Drive with Alan Douglas and Ali Bally.
This is Scotland the Drive. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Scotland's podcast looking at the world of motoring as to how it comes back to us and looking at all these things. We're just looking there at the Frontera with this ignition key, and Alan's been out and about. What about the economy on it?
Well, the economy was remarkable. In that recording, I said that I only got sort of mid-40s, actually, since I recorded that. It's improved slightly. Maybe I was a bit lighter on my right foot, and it went up to about 52, 53. But what surprised me was it's just a basic car. That's what we were saying earlier. And there is this move towards something a bit more simple. You know, they did this with mobile phones. Mobile phones got more and more complicated. And then one manufacturer came out with a phone that was a phone. That's all it did. It just did the phone.
Yeah.
And it did quite well. I don't know what happened to it since then, because technology's moved on so much. But there is scope for something that's just a little bit more basic. And this thing was good. Okay, it was a wee bit tinny. You closed the back door and it was a bit tinny. But it did the job. Great economy, nice to drive. For somebody simple like me, there's a button where you can just press it and you hold it and it takes off the lane departure. Another button takes off the speed limit warning and it stays off.
Right.
Not when you switch off the ignition, it cancels it. So it was a nice car. I liked it. And, you'll know what it's like. You have a car sometimes and you're glad to see the back of it for a week. And, goodbye, I won't miss you.
Yes.
But this one, really liked it.
Right.
And if I was thinking about getting a simple, basic car, it would figure up there, Mind you, that market is filled by the Dachas. The Dachas are very good. Great value for money.
Yeah.
Solid cars. Okay, they're not particularly inspiring, although the Bigster, I liked the Bigster. We had that, didn't we?
Yeah, the Bigster was good. Yeah, it was very good.
So anyway, there we are. I liked the Frontera. And I didn't put it off the road, unlike you did with your previous one. Okay.
Tell us about this, first of all, before we go to
this Mercedes.
Yes, it's sitting here.
If you've noticed on previous editions, we always have a little car just to show off. And this is, what is it? Do you know what it is?
No.
It's a Mercedes 300 SL.
Okay.
Gullwing.
Yeah.
You see? The doors like
gull. They work as good.
Like gull's wings.
Yeah.
So it's very nice. It's just part of my my car collection. Unfortunately, all my car collection are this size. There's no real size, real life, full size ones. But the amazing detail. Look at that. It's got the engine and everything. And look, it's got all the dials.
It's great.
Dials
Yeah.
like that, and even
Bottom.
underneath it.
Yeah.
And when you open the boot, getting excited about it.
I know there's so many of these. When you're on press trips, you get these as gifts. But that's right. It's got to get the detail on this is absolutely superb.
So I thought, I wonder how much it's worth.
As you do,
because I don't remember where I got it. I must have got it from press trip somewhere. So I had a look online, and I thought, oh, this is pretty good. £1,200
really,
in a box. And then I saw another one, £8.45. So anywhere between £1,200 and £8.45 for one of these, and it's in pretty good condition. I don't have the box for it, but anyway, Mercedes 300 SL, very nice car, but sadly that's the only one I've got. At least that's the size of the only one I've got. So
okay,
yeah. Well, anyway,
I was just going to say it's time for Judith.
Judith has been waiting in the wing.
Yeah, indeed, she doesn't like that.
Poised with her weather forecast. No, we dragged her away from the weather forecast and got her to tell us about, well, not just her first car, but her first drive.
This is Scotland, the Drive. My first car.
Well, Judith Ralston, thanks for letting us drag you away from the weather charts to come and talk to Scotland, the Drive. What are you going to do about this weather?
Oh, I know. Well, at least it's changed because it has been pretty, for Eastern Scotland, it's been dismal. It's been so wet. And usually it's the west that gets all the wet weather. And Western Scotland, especially the northwest, has been so dry. There's actually been wildfires. I mean, that's unheard of at this time of year. But it's now a bit more mobile. So, and spring is on its way.
I think as one of your colleagues said the other night, he said it was bro. And I thought that was a nice word. And you introduced it the next night as well. It's bro.
That's Callum.
Fine.
Yeah, I know. Callum nailed it on the head. A brodie. It's a great word, isn't it?
That's it, isn't it? It's great.
Well, bro's definitely better than drich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's been too much drich.
I know.
So there's nothing you can do about it. But as you say, spring is round the corner. I see there's lots of snowdrops appearing.
And the nights are getting lighter, and that gives you a bit of hope, doesn't it? Because it's a long, dark winter. I feel it's been even longer this year for some reason. So I think when you start to see, a bit of light earlier in the morning and a bit of light later at night, you start thinking, oh yeah, get the barbecue out. We're hardy.
That's it. Yes. Yeah.
Well, we'll blame you when the rain comes down once we light the barbecue. Right then, we're here to talk about cars. Now, are you a car fan?
No. No, I'm absolutely not. I have to say, I'm going to be honest here. I haven't got a Scooby, but yep, I have had to drive them.
Yeah. Well, we had Jackie Bird on a few weeks ago, and she was the same. She said she knew nothing about cars, but you know what Jackie's like? She lied because she talked about the stream of cars that she'd had over her life. So tell us about some of the cars you've had to drive.
Well, I'm going to tell you about the very first car I put my paws on. And my dad was in the Navy, so he was away a lot, so he never sat driving tests. I mean, you don't get away with that now. He did eventually, and he passed it with flying colours, but he used to just... when I think about it now. So he bought this little Fiat car, and it was sit outside the house for ages, not being driven. And anyway, I decided to have a go. I couldn't drive. And I hop, skipped and jumped it up the road. I was about 16 or 17. And that was the first car I ever drove. And some workmen had to push me back and get me back to the drive. I said, my dad's going to kill me if he sees I've moved this car, because my mum couldn't drive. So it was a little Fiat. It wouldn't be a Uno, but it was that kind of small Fiat. So that was the very first car I ever drove, unbeknownst to my dad. So that was the first time I got my hands on the wheel.
What was the reason, what got into your mind that you think, I'm going to have a go?
It looked easy. Yeah, it looked easy. I thought my dad did it without it. I just thought it looked easy. I'd watched people, my auntie was a great one for it. And I'll say to my kids, when I was young, I loved going for a run in the car. with my auntie, and we'd go for a run, and maybe I'd stop for a drink somewhere, and just sort of run around the beach or something. I lived in Joppa near East Lothian. My family were from East Lothian, so a great afternoon out or a day out was a run in the car. But my kids are not even vaguely interested. It's funny how it's changed, isn't it?
That's amazing. 'Cause I was just, when I was young, from sort of 10, 11, 12 onwards, I was desperate to get behind a wheel.
Yeah, but we're normal, you see. We're normal.
Yeah, we had bikes as well. We always had bikes, didn't we? I mean, that's how I used to get from me to be on our walk. Walked absolutely everywhere. So,
is it because kids nowadays have mum and dad there to take them everywhere?
Yeah, and like my dad was away, my mum couldn't drive, so it was all buses, walking. You didn't think anything about walking in the rain. Or I remember walking to school in the snow. My school was quite far away, and it was about. It still just there were no buses. It was that bad, but my friend and I were determined to get to school. We'd keep walking. Anyway, I'm digressing about cars.
Right. So anyway, after this first illegal experience of driving, what happened after that? Did you presumably have passed the test since then?
Yes, I have. I didn't learn to drive for a long time because I was a student in Glasgow, and then I worked for Scottish Opera when I was a student as well. So everything was kind of Glasgow based, and when we went on tour, we'd all do lifts. And then it dawned on me I should really learn to drive. I went down to study in Manchester, and I thought, I always remember my friend saying to me, I can't imagine you driving. So it kind of put me off. So I was probably in my early 20s, about 23 or 24, and I thought, I'm going to learn to drive. So I did, and do you know what? I passed with flying colours first time. And the driving instructor, I know, it was the guy who tested me in Manchester had worked for the Sunday Post, and he was from the north of England, and he said, I loved working in Glasgow. We had a big chat about that, and I only had 3 points on my, whatever, it was a very high, I couldn't believe it, so there I was, gung-ho, ready to drive.
Ready to go.
So there you were, armed with your new licence. You went out and bought a car, did you?
Yes, I did. I got a not Vauxhall, that was my second car. A Volkswagen Golf.
As you do.
Golf. Yeah, and it got with me to be, and then I went on to Corsas. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a few of those, and they did me well for a good few years. They were easy, they were a cracking wee car, actually, that got me from A to B.
Yeah. So you enjoyed the courses, and then you progressed as you found fame and fortune. You progressed.
I'm still in Vauxhalls.
You're still in Vauxhall. So what do you drive now then? A
Vauxhall Safira. Now, it's a big beast of a car because at the time, I've had it for a long time now, my eldest boy was playing pro youth football. So I was taking extra lads here and there, and there was my other 2 kids as well. So it seats 7. So it was a really practical car. And it's been great. I mean, I quite like to get rid of it now because I've had it, I don't need it. But it's lasted. It's been a really reliable car, actually. We did have a Saab briefly, which was great because I felt the height of luxury. I do like Saabs. That's probably was or is my favourite kind of car. But I got rid of that eventually. Of course, it lost so much money by the time we sold it, after only having it a year. But I think Saab was probably so it's a Vauxhall. But when I was away filming Scotland's Greatest Escapes, I had to drive a couple of cars. One of them being a Jeep, a big Land Rover, big heavy old Land Rover with a tent on the top. And that was pretty muckle to drive as well. I kind of struggled. I felt every bump in the road as well.
But do you enjoy driving, or do you find it a chore?
No, I do enjoy driving, Alan, actually. I like the zone you can switch into. I like getting the radio on. I'm not very great at listening to music despite my musical background because it distracts me, but I like speech radio. So I like listening to Radio 4. I'm still not very good with the old podcasts yet. I know it sounds pathetic, but I'm still catching up on that, and I will do. Obviously, I'm going to have to now, aren't I?
Absolutely, yeah.
So it's easy. Boys. Yeah, it's easy.
We can all do it.
Well, you'll have to go to Spotify and listen to Scotland the Drive on Spotify.
Of course I will.
In the car.
When I lived down south, when I was studying down south, I was still singing, and I was travelling around singing. I wouldn't think twice of jumping in the car from Manchester and driving down to the south coast. It's funny how my mindset was different then. I would drive for miles and miles and hours. Whereas up here, it's probably a calmer experience driving up in Scotland as well compared to what it was down south. Because everywhere, I came out of Manchester straight onto the M6. I would drive into London back then as well. And of course, you can't do that now.
Let me ask you about your motoring indiscretions. Have you had any accidents? Have you got points on your license?
I don't think I've got any points at the moment, but
I've
got points for speeding. Yeah, I did get points for speeding. I was 10 miles over. I thought it was in a 40-mile zone, and I wasn't. Because I was like, "Oh, officer, surely it's it's a mistake."
Were you not stopped on a Scotland Scot Squad episode? Did they not stop you?
That's right.
On that?
Yeah,
that was very funny.
What were you doing?
So what happened was I had in the scene. I was locked out of my car. And I walked up to the two officers to say, and the officers were Jordan Young and I can't remember Sally's last name, but Jordan Young's the kind of the Romeo policeman, if you like, and Sally is his sidekick. They're very good together, and it was such an interesting experience. So I said, "Oh, excuse me, officer." I was given the sort of story. And then we're told to ad-lib. And I remember thinking, God, what am I going to say? I thought, well, ad-lib the weather every night. Surely it's second nature. So I had to walk up and say, "Oh, excuse me, officer, I've locked myself out of my car and I need my keys are in there and my brolly's in there." And and watching them in action react and completely, free what's the word I'm looking for, ad lib all the way through this. The theme was incredible. And of course, Jordan's character said to me, "A brolly," and then the sidekick Sally said, "But you said it wasn't going to rain today." So there's a whole. And I said, "Oh, it's just a handy tool. Never go anywhere in Scotland without a brolly," that sort of thing. So that was really funny, and it was about. And then Jordan said to me, "It's you, Faye. Are you from Sky Sport?" And I said, "No, weather." Here's a clue. Yeah. It was very, very, very funny, and it was all ad libbed. So it was really good fun to do. So I got my umbrella. And I was like, handy. So it was such a good fun experience. I really, really enjoyed it. It really was. It was quite. I felt very honoured actually to be asked. And then Lorraine Kelly wanted to get in the act apparently, so she was the next celeb, so to speak, to be on it. She's a fan too.
And what about accidents? Have you had any little bumps along the way?
I had, I always remember when I first started my career in broadcasting, that was in 1999, I used to work for the local radio stations doing travel news. And I was driving out to Erskine to do my travel news shift because we broadcast to all the local radio stations. And I was on the M8 and I just slid into ice and turned around and around and around and hit the barrier. And a lorry just missed me. And that was probably the most memorable accident because it was so scary. But I survived it, so thankfully I was really lucky. But yeah, obviously I wasn't on the forecast that day.
So do you think you're a good driver? I mean, you're saying it's something you feel you have to do, but you don't really enjoy it, do you?
Yeah, I do quite enjoy it. No, I do enjoy it. I say I'm a capable driver.
You don't think to... When you've got a long journey, like from where you're talking about Manchester up to Glasgow and down to London, both routes that I've done quite a lot of, you don't actually get apprehensive before going into the car, do you?
No, nothing like that. No.
So you're quite happy just to do it.
Yeah, I'm as I say, I think I would call myself capable more than good. Yeah, so I'm not afraid to drive. But yeah, it's funny driving with my husband though, because it always makes me laugh because. I was like, poor guy's just put the key in the lock. What are you doing? Where are you going? And I really feel afterward, and I'm learning to say, Judith, shut up, be quiet, because my poor husband's just like, right, which way do you want me to go? You go the way you want. Why are you going that way? the only time we bicker, it's not. It's me, and I know I'm at fault, and I'm always saying, to myself, zip it. So anyway.
So if just to draw this discussion to a conclusion, if money was no object, what would be your dream car? Do you have designs on one in particular?
Probably, I quite like a wee Maserati.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, I like the sound a Maserati makes. Always turns my head. I like the sound, and of course the Maserati's Italian, the home of opera, so I've got all that kind of, it's something very sophisticated and sporty and classy about a Maserati.
Well, one day maybe. Well,
you never know.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I know you've got lots of weather forecasts to do today, haven't you? We're keeping you away from your charts.
I have been sickness, and I've been called in to cover. So, but I was worried about this because I thought if I get anything to talk about, because my knowledge of cars is very simplistic. But you two are so lovely.
Oh, yeah, you're absolutely. What a very perceptive person she is.
I know talent when I see it.
hopefully Maserati will be on the phone to you soon.
Judith, thanks very much for taking the time to talk to us. We really appreciate it. And if you can just bring some sunshine, that would be good.
Leave it with me. You're very welcome. Lovely to see you both.
Thanks for joining us.
This is Scotland the Drive with Alan Douglas and Ali Bally.
Scotland the Drive, and thank you very much indeed, Judith. You did indeed pull her away from her weatherboards. Interesting. Her first
anymore.
No, they're digital, and they don't see them, do they? No, it's strange.
It's all magic.
It's all magic. A bit like her father's car disappearing outside her house on her first drive.
Yeah, where have I gone? Oh, well, I thought I'd just take it for a drive. You're only 14 and you don't have a license. Yeah, no.
That's okay. Dad's miles away. Anyway,
so next time,
well, what we've got some predictions of the future of motoring from digital games guru Chris Vanderkill. Now, I've known Chris for many years. He is described these days as an entrepreneur. Yes, he's into gaming, etc., but he's also a very shrewd businessman, and his car collection is superb, and he has very, very good contacts in the car industry. So we get some revelations as to what he thinks will happen in the next 10 years as far as cars are concerned. That's on the next edition.
Yeah, because he didn't just talk about his own car collection, which is impressive to say the least, but he also talked about his thoughts about where we're going on the road, and not just or beyond EVs and beyond autonomous cars, and some interesting thoughts. So he'll be on the next edition, so hope you can join us for that.
I think that you will have understood from that we've already recorded Chris, and I think we'll both agree that whilst all our guests are great, he's one of the most interesting guests that we've had on, and well worth a listen. That's in our next edition of Scotland the Drive. But for now, thank you very much indeed for being there.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye now.
Scotland the Drive with Alan Douglas and Ali Bally.